following is intended only for mature audiences.
Open your ears and lube up your butthole. It's time for the What Do We Call It podcast. Now, here's your host. It's Jmann. Welcome to the What Do We Call It podcast. I'm Jmann.
This is Steiny.
Yay! There was a story that was out a few years back, and it's recently come back into the news because the subject of it was sentenced. Here's the story. Her name is Chrystul Kizer. She had been molested by this guy that was older than her.
Okay.
And it was like a human trafficking type thing. He would like pimp her out and shit, and then also abuse her himself. She killed him. Okay. Which at the time I'm like, good for you. We should fucking allow that shit.
I think most people would think that was a appropriate response. Yeah.
Yeah. So she shot him in 2018. She's been locked up since. And now she's been sentenced to 11 years in prison. Damn! She pleaded guilty to reckless homicide. And then will have 5 years of parole thereafter.
So she'll probably serve, what, 2/3 of that?
I don't know if Wisconsin has a similar good time structure to Minnesota's DOC.
Right.
But in this state, you serve 2/3, and the good time is that last third that you could lose all of it through behavioral infractions and issues like that if you're a shitty inmate.
The Wisconsin State Department of Corrections has a statute that dictates inmates serving over 4 days will receive up to a quarter of their sentence off for good time, depending on behavior while incarcerated.
Mm-hmm. So here's the deal. She was at home with her boyfriend, drove to this dude's house. He was sleeping. She broke in, she shot him,
okay.
She set the house on fire, and then she stole his BMW.
Oh.
So people are going batshit crazy over the 11-year sentence, saying she shouldn't serve any time. It was self-defense.
And some people are saying, well, no, she premeditated. This is murder one, right?
Yeah, it is exclusively, in my mind, a premeditated act of violence.
Yeah.
And it's just like, oh my gosh, she shot this fucking dude, she burned his house down, and stole his BMW, and they got pulled over, the motherfucker, and that's how she got caught.
I remember this story. I remember hearing about this story. This was how long ago?
2018.
2018, yeah, I remember this.
Initially charged with multiple counts, including first-degree intentional homicide, ding, arson, ding, car theft, and being a felon in possession of a firearm. Because she had a little bit of a past.
Oh, sure. Well, after what she went through, I'm sure she would be kind of...
Yeah. But she was 17 when she did it.
How long, though, when had the abuse started, though? How old was she?
Let me find that real quick. Yeah, so she was 17 when she did it. They charged her as an adult. Right. There's the guy. I mean, she's a black minor, female, and he's an adult male who was 34. It's fucked up. But here's the thing. The claim by the defense was that it was self-defense. But it wasn't like she shot him with a gun that she grabbed while he was trying to injure or kill her or to affect her escape. And when I started looking at what is self-defense, I got, sometimes it says there's 3 elements, sometimes there's 5. But imminent threat, the threat of danger must be immediately present.
Right.
Reasonable fear of harm, the defendant must have a reasonable fear of harm or death from the aggressor. And then proportionate response. The defense response must be proportionate to that of the aggression.
Right. Yeah, if somebody's coming at you with a butter knife, you can't shoot them dead.
Right.
Yeah.
So as per law.com, self-defense is defined as the use of reasonable force to protect oneself or members of the family from bodily harm from the attack of an aggressor if the defender has reason to believe he, she, they are in danger. Self-defense is a common defense by a person accused of assault, battery, or homicide.
Okay.
And in the comments section, I kept seeing all these people talking about self-defense. And that's what made me Google self-defense.
Right. Well, there's always a different definition of what people think some of these things are and what the actual law definition is. And that sounds like people think, well, it should include this when that's not actually what it means. right?
Oh,
You're
absolutely.
saying, the imminent threat is a huge part of self-defense that
was missing in this case, and that was my point. I'm like, there was no imminent threat. She drove 40 miles and performed a premeditated act because it was a stolen gun. She borrowed the gun from her boyfriend.
I do have one question here. So you said this abuse had been going on for 6 years. It sounds like it had been still ongoing, right? So there's this threat that maybe the next time he came, he was going to still come and assault her again, type of thing. I mean, that's how maybe they're trying to claim the self-defense, is that, there was no reason to believe that he wasn't going to come and do this again, which also begs the question, why not just lie in wait for him when he's going to come and try and do this again?
Right, and the thing is that she said she
miles?
was fed up of it and didn't want it to happen again. And I completely understand that mentality from a victim of sexual abuse in that instance. So looking at the elements of this, it says in 2017 in Kenosha, Wisconsin, Chrystul Kizer, a 16-year-old black girl, met Randall P. Voller III, a 33-year-old white man, on Backpage. So she was looking to possibly hook up with
and only
people.
knew him for about a year.
Yeah.
Okay, so this wasn't that. Okay.
Voller abused and trafficked Kizer and other underage black girls. In February of 2018, a 15-year-old girl called police from Voller's home saying he had drugged her and was going to kill her. And the girl was found by police wandering the streets half naked under the influence of LSD. A subsequent search of his home found evidence of child sex abuse, including hundreds of videotapes of him abusing Kizer and other underage black girls. On February 26th, Voller was arrested for child enticement, second-degree sexual assault of a child, and using a computer to facilitate a child sex crime. He was released on the same day without bail, and police waited 3 months before submitting the case to prosecutors. 12 days later, while still free on bail, Voller was shot and killed. So there's your possible articulable imminent threat, is that, well, he probably figured out who blabbed on him.
Right.
And he's going to kill me now.
Sure.
But still, you went through all these hoops to do it. Why wouldn't you notify the police that you don't feel safe and tell them everything that's gone on? You might not have faith in the system, but you at least got to try. Because if you do that and then you kill him, it looks better. Doesn't look good, but it looks better.
Either way, she wasn't going to make the right decisions in this whole thing. What is affirmative defense there?
Kizer invoked a Wisconsin statute that provides trafficking victims with, quote, an affirmative defense for any offense committed as a direct result of the trafficking. Okay. Paragraph 1M of the statute reads, a victim of a violation of statute 940.302 parentheses 2, so subparagraph, human trafficking or 948.051 child trafficking has an affirmative defense for any offense committed as a direct result of the violation of said statutes, in regard to whether anyone was prosecuted or convicted for a violation of said statutes. That's a lot of word salad.
Holy shit!
Prosecutors argued that the affirmative defense did not apply and alleged that Kizer shot Voller not as a direct result of the trafficking, but because she wanted to steal his car.
Okay.
Could be. Kenosha County District Attorney Michael Gravely told the New York Times that, quote, permitting vigilante justice, which is the narrative from some seeking dismissal, is a highly subjective, slippery slope.
Oh, really?
True. I mean, we do have this thing where we're, let the law do what it's supposed to do. I think we all can sympathize with this woman's situation and being a victim and what she did and taking it into her own hands, but it can't be allowed, right? You can't just go, okay, well let's allow it in this case, right? That's not how the law is supposed to work.
Let's see some more details about the case. Come on, where's we talk about the act? Okay, here's the story from 2019. No, there's a lot of fucking emotion in this writing.
Yeah, not enough fact.
So the prosecutor believed that her crime was premeditated. The evidence, he argues, showed she planned to murder him so she could steal his BMW. She maintained she was defending herself. And she said that when she told Voller she didn't want to have sex that night, he pinned her to the floor. I didn't intentionally try to do this. Either way, she traveled a distance to go kill a guy who she felt that she should be okay to kill. And her motivation is kind of suspect because she stole his car. Did she think that burning the house down was going to cover up the fucking bullet to the head?
Maybe.
Because they can still take a charred corpse and find a fucking slug inside the noggin.
Yeah, but maybe she didn't watch as much Forensic Files and Law and Order and all those types of things growing up that we did.
Well, that was your first mistake, was not letting the TV educate you on how to get away with crime.
Right, not being a child of the 90s.
I mean, besides going on Backpage and then meeting up with a man who's twice your age, and I'm just going to be so brazen as to say, perhaps she was looking for a bad time and to make some money. Because why the fuck else are you on Backpage.com?
Well, at that age, too, at 16?
I mean, I know people that used to use messaging apps. This is before social media. Messaging apps to meet dudes.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't always just looking for a boyfriend, if you know what I mean.
Oh, absolutely not. Yeah, there was a...
Sex.
Well, no, there was a market there, yeah.
So let me ask you this. If this is your daughter and you find out that this guy's been abusing her and she's gone and she's killed him, how do you feel? And before you answer, you have to weigh it against this. It's your flesh and blood, so obviously you're going to want to defend her.
Right.
But two, there's the damning evidence that she thought this through before she committed the act, which makes it seem like, holy shit, she's a cold-blooded killer.
I don't know if necessarily I would prejudge her on being a cold-blooded killer based on the circumstances. You know what I mean? Like, I think that is a lifetime of scarring that she would have to deal with. So in some ways, the fact that her abuser wouldn't be around to torment her anymore might be probably one of the best courses of action in her life, even if she does have to spend some time behind prison. You know, I've always wondered about my own son, and if he did something terrible, I wouldn't love him any less, but, I would expect him to deal with whatever consequences were coming forth, and...
As the saying goes, you got to ride the rap.
Yeah, exactly. And hopefully be a better person for it. Not that prison usually makes people better people for it, but,
Right. Most people go in and come out a better criminal and a shittier human being who's just trying to make up for lost time, and they make a lot of mistakes. And the system is not very forgiving either, which is why you see so much habitual recidivism in this country.
Right. And I have heard stories about people that go into prison and if you're not messing around with people, if you're not being an idiot, you shouldn't have anything to worry about. It's usually those who are idiots, who are too dumb to know any better, that get themselves in trouble. But also, I think we all have this understanding that you can't go anywhere. So it's not like if you do start to get into trouble, you can do anything about it, right?
Well, trouble comes looking for you a lot of the time if you're new, because people are like, he's either going to be my bitch or he's either going to join our gang in the max facilities.
Well, in the max facilities, yes. I was going to say, because those are the worst of the worst, Yeah, I don't know. If you're going in for 8 years, right, or at this point, you get credit for time served, maybe only 3 or 4, you might not be going into the worst of the worst. Maybe they're not going into a really bad situation. I don't know. It's murder, so maybe you are.
Well, it kind of makes me think of that episode of the sitcom Dave, starring Little Dicky. He wrote a song, and it's like supposed to be the debut single from his debut album on a major label.
Yeah.
The premise is he goes to prison, and he finds the toughest dude. And then he tells him, I'm going to suck your dick. And then he does it. And then he sucks all the dudes' dicks. He's like, I'm going to suck all your dicks, and then we'll just get that out of the way, and we'll be done. I'll suck all the dicks right away, and then the rest of the time I won't have to suck any more dicks. Which I have to believe that if he does a good job, they're going to want a return engagement, and his logic is flawed.
Right, I was going to say, there's so many problems with that theory.
Because you see him start to, kneel down and put his hand on this guy's chest and run it down towards his stomach.
Yeah.
And it's very homoerotic. And that's when you expect him to stab the guy like Ashton Kutcher did in The Butterfly Effect, where he's like, I'll suck both your guys' dicks right now. I'll go through with it.
And then he reads his thing under the
mattress, the notes they stole.
Yep.
And my biggest problem has always been, he went into the cell and he said he's going to suck both their dicks. And they both immediately start undoing their pants. Like, aren't you going to paper, rock, scissors for who goes first? Right.
You're just going to get the double suck off together.
So if he starts sucking the one dick, do you stand there wait for him to suck the one dick to completion before it's your turn? Or is he supposed to bounce back and forth and try to keep you both pretty close to coming before he gets
isn't
fucking
that what
back-to-back cum
one
shots.
hand is for while the mouth is busy, and then vice versa?
I don't know. I've never been to Ibiza, but I'm not a skier either.
Yeah, right.
I'll suck your dick. Like, all right. They just, come on. You're both going to whip your dicks out at the same time. This is a guy that clearly is nervous about this and has never sucked a dick before. And you're expecting him to have the coordination and I guess the dedication to make sure that he's got a spit-covered palm with his right hand and then his hand around the other guy's dick, switching back and forth like a singer with multiple microphones in concert. It really bothered me, the level of detail in that scenario that I had to parse through, and that movie sucked my ass anyway.
Yeah, you got drawn into a whole level of depth that they had never expected anybody to go. They were probably just expecting Ashton Kutcher to be cute enough to where guys were just like, oh yeah, I'll let him suck my dick.
Why did you say that like a gay dude?
I did?
It sounded like you were being kind of effeminate in your presentation of the words.
Oh, I actually kind of got a bubble in my throat as I was saying that.
That's very incidental.
I was saying, and I'll let him suck my dick.
Oh, what a coincidence. Okay. Well, anyways, this chick had to probably suck a bunch of dicks, and then she shot the guy whose dick he was making her suck. So that's that. Answer my question. It's actually a trick question, because the real answer is option C. She doesn't have a chance to commit the act because you've already killed him yourself.
Oh, I wondered about that too. But
or if it's me, with one of my daughters, if my son's still a minor, I'd be like, Daddy needs you to do a favor, and then act like it was your idea. It's your sister's. Come on, bud. Because you're just going to go to juvie, and they'll let you out when you're 18, probably. I don't know. Because if I do it, I die in prison, and I got to suck a lot of big black dicks. If you do it, you go to juvie, and if you're decent at basketball, odds are you don't suck any dicks. You might have to see some dicks, but they're not going into your mouth.
sure.
Presumably.
Right.
50-50 chance you don't end up with a big black dick in your ass. Quote from Clay Morrow in an episode of Sons of Anarchy.
Okay.
He says that to Juice. So anyway, she's going to do 11 years plus 5 on probation. It's kind of unfair. I get the vigilante justice angle that they want to discourage this shit. But honestly, our country would be better if people, not just anybody's like, I'm mad, I can kill you. And that's their sense of justice. But truly, if you're a victim of a crime this heinous, you should be able to kill your fucking abuser with complete impunity. I know, slippery slope, but fuck it.
Right. Well, I was going to say, because then anybody could claim that. It's kind of like...
You have to show proof.
Right, but the other guy doesn't get a chance to come back from it. You know what I mean?
Too
That's
bad.
the problem.
Fucking don't rape kids.
Well...
It's that simple. I mean, there's going to be a lot less foster dads in the system because from what I hear, it's pretty nasty. But don't fuck kids. If you don't fuck kids, you don't have to worry about dying for fucking a kid. It's very simple Gumby math.
Right. No, I get you. Those who have nothing to fear, have done nothing should have nothing to fear.
Yeah, desire plus effort equals death.
Yeah.
It's that simple. Interact with the show on Twitter, What Do We Call It? That is What Do We Call It? You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/group/What Do We Call It podcast show. For the What Do We Call It podcast, I'm Jmann.
This is Steiny.
And that's the end.